Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Roshi.
Nice to see you all. And welcome back. Nice to have you here. So I was asked to give a talk today about the three treasures, also known as the three jewels. And I'm also aware of the fact that it's New Year's Eve. And so I was trying to figure out how to talk about the three treasures in the context of New Year's Eve. And I think the best way to do it is to think about, as I'm sharing the three treasures with you, for you to consider, how have you connected with the three treasures in 2025, and how would you like to connect with them in 2026? So just as I'm sharing about them, I'd like to have you all be in just running a background program of, well, I guess I did do this in 25 and I'd like to do this in 26. Just think about those intentions. And if you do come to the formal day on Friday, my Dharma talk on that day will be about setting intentions for the new year. And we're also going to, at the end of the day, as you see on the schedule, formally set our intentions for the year. And you can either share them with the group or just set it silently, and we'll each ring the gong. God bless you. I think it's important to do those kinds of things because our intentions definitely are the lead dog pulling the sled of our life. And if we have intentions and keep revisiting them, our life goes differently than if we're just spitballing it all the time. So let's talk a little bit about the three treasures. Does anyone know what they are? What are they?
Buddha, Dharma, Sangha.
That's correct. Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. So let's talk about those three things. So what is the Buddha?
Everyone?
That's right. Everyone is the Buddha. And by the way, we talk about in the three treasures, or sometimes they're called the three jewels, but usually in our lineage we say the three treasures. These are the things that we take refuge in as Zen practitioners and as human beings. So life is difficult because of what?
Change.
Correct. Well, also because of change. That's right. We talked about the three marks of existence last time: dukkha, no self, and impermanence. That's actually the wrong order. Dukkha, impermanence, no self.
Josh, can I interrupt you real quick?
Of course.
Can the students who cannot see or are not facing Josh please adjust yourselves so that you are? Just to be respectful of the talk. You could just swing yourselves around so that you can actually see him.
And if you want to turn the lights on too, you can, if it will help everyone be awake and attentive, and I can see you better.
Thanks, Phil.
Thank you. Okay, so the Buddha, to take refuge in the Buddha, we need to go for refuge because life is hard. No matter what we do, we can't get away from dukkha. We can't get away from challenges, difficulties. We can't get away from impermanence. I have studied this at great length, and I have found that about 83 to 87% of my personal dukkha is caused by me. What I do, what I think, what I say, how I behave. And I was talking with another teacher, and I started practicing with him in 1998. We lived at a Zen center from 98 to 05, long time ago. We have both stayed with the practice, and we're both teachers now. And we were talking about how much dukkha can be reduced with how we think and feel and talk, and everything you do and every word you say, there's karma that results from it. So all of you being here and watching at home, whatever you're doing, you are generating karma. You are hearing the Dharma. You are, over time, letting it permeate you, and it will change your life. I'm not saying that to proselytize, because we also all have our own personal beliefs. I know what some of your personal beliefs are in here. And another lovely thing about Zen practice, there's rabbis who are Zen teachers, there's Catholic priests who are Zen teachers. It doesn't ask you to exclude anything. And I could give a whole other talk sometime about, is Zen a religion or a philosophy? Because it has elements of both, but it does not exclude anything. So you can believe in flying spaghetti monster and still practice Zen. You can be someone who observes Festivus or Hanukkah or Christmas or Kwanzaa or whatever and still celebrate the Buddha's enlightenment on December 8th. You can do whatever you want. It's your life, it's your practice. But the teaching is that life is difficult, and my friend Kyoto Sensei more or less agreed with my assessment that you can eliminate a lot of your dukkha, but you'll always have some. You will always have some. So if we go for refuge in the three treasures, the dukkha will be more tolerable and less pervasive. That's the idea. That's the idea of all the teachings. If we're aware of the three marks, the Four Noble Truths, the Eightfold Path, it's like a GPS. We kind of know where we're going. If we're trying to fumble around without it, in my experience, we're just going to create a lot of problems. So it doesn't make life necessarily easy, but it makes it easier. Going for refuge in the Buddha when things are difficult means, first of all, to your point, going for refuge in your own Buddha nature, your own enlightenment. I was speaking with one of you in Dokusan earlier today about you are enlightened. This practice is not to make you enlightened. This practice is to reveal your enlightenment. It's there. It's obscured by your karma. It's obscured by your habitual patterns. It's obscured by your beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance. But it's there. It's always there. The sun is shining even when we can't see it. So taking refuge in your own Buddha nature, to sit on the cushion and go, I'm very angry, I'm very sad, I'm very despondent, I'm very whatever, but I know that I have awakened nature. That is my nature. This, we call it klesha activity, this agitated emotional state I'm in is not my original nature. My original nature is calm, profound, peaceful, loving, open, awake. That is your nature. So taking refuge in the Buddha begins with taking refuge in your own Buddha nature. It also means taking refuge in the Buddha nature of others, as the comment, taking refuge in everyone because we're all Buddhas. It's exactly right. So taking refuge in your own Buddha nature and the Buddha nature of others, even someone that you're angry with. It's like when we do metta bhavana practice, which is not strictly speaking a Zen practice, but if we're doing loving kindness practice, it's okay to say, may he be well, may he be happy, may he be free of suffering, that SOB. You can be very angry and still wish them well. You can be really struggling to see someone's Buddha nature, but still be operating from a place of, I have it and they have it. It's very helpful. It's very important. Also, we have the literal Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha Daosho, Prince Siddhartha Gautama, who lived about 2,500 years ago, and we don't have time to get into his whole story right now, but there was a person who realized these things and shared them, and now we have had them passed down. Are you comfortable with the other dog being babysat by your children, or should we grab
Make
them?
sure she's not running around. So.
I'm assuming that that's why he's looking out there as he sees her.
Willow ran by.
I'm happy to have her in here or not, but I just want someone keeping an eye on her. It's kind of funny that we're talking about the dogs because the first koan in our canon is, does a dog have Buddha nature? If you're interested in doing koans, you can talk to me about that. So we take refuge in the literal Shakyamuni Buddha who taught these things. We give appreciation and gratitude that the Dharma exists, that he went through many, many, many years of struggle to understand all of these things. But we have to be careful with that as well, because the Buddha didn't want to start a new philosophy or religion, and he would have been appalled to learn that we are still talking about him 2,500 years on. As a matter of fact, he stated very clearly, be a light unto yourself. He was very reluctant. People followed him around. Started with just a few people after his enlightenment, and then it became dozens, and then hundreds, and then thousands just followed him around. He wasn't interested. But they begged him. They could see something was different about him, and they begged him, and he taught. So we take refuge in him as well, but not as a deity, just as a human being who once lived, who woke up. We also take refuge in our teacher. So some of you have formally asked me to be your teacher, and some of you just, it's more casual, and I'm fine either way. But we actually take refuge in the Buddha who sits before us, who has had the Dharma passed down mind to mind through 86 generations. A koan I've been sitting with during this session is, how do I take refuge in my teacher when he's passed? But I have solved that koan. We have been sitting together very peaceably the last few days. I can still go for refuge in my teacher even when he's not here. Dharma transmission continues beyond death. And then we have all the folks who came between Shakyamuni Buddha and our teacher, the lineage. Taking refuge in the lineage, which also kind of spills into the Sangha, the community. But the Buddha, we've had this game of telephone that's gone on for 2,500 years, where the Buddha said some things, and Mahakashyapa said some things, and Ananda said some things, and so on and so forth, all the way through Dogen Zenji and Maizumi Roshi, all the American teachers of the last 60 years, and here we sit. So I find it very comforting to take refuge in my own Buddha nature, the Buddha nature of others, this lineage, the original Buddha, my teacher, all of that. Any questions about taking refuge in the Buddha? Okay, so then we also take refuge in, what's the second one? The Dharma. What is the Dharma? Literally translated, it means the truth. I have a little bit of a hard time with that because I think it infers that other things are not the truth, and I think there's a lot of truth and wisdom in the world, and Zen Buddhism is not the only truth. But there's also a line in the Heart Sutra that says, this is the truth, not a lie. And my martial arts teacher who first exposed me to Zen used to make a joke, like, the rest of it is all nonsense. This is the truth. The rest of it is lies. So the Dharma also has many facets to it. There is literally sitting, studying the Dharma, reading the books. You've just come into a lot of Dharma books. Probably if you just spent the next year reading those, you'd come out much wiser.
I probably finished one.
You'd probably finish at least one. So we study the actual Dharma. We also recite sutras during service. We don't just do that for fun. We do it because the teachings get into our body when we recite them over and over. There's Dharma talks, which is the one I'm giving now. There's lots of Dharma talks on YouTube. There's lots of books to read. We're in a very fortunate time as Zen students. There's a lot of access to the Dharma. Used to be you'd have to pilgrimage hundreds and hundreds of miles to receive the Dharma, and the tradition was you had to sit outside the monastery for 3 days before they'd let you in because they wanted to make sure you were serious. All you have to do is get on Sedona Zen Center on YouTube and you can hear me prattle on for hours. Very easy, if that's your thing. Another thing that's been really interesting is that when Daishin was alive, I had no occasion to look on his YouTube channel because I got to talk to him every day for almost 20 years. turns out he's got a whole bunch of Dharma talks posted. If you're a Star Wars fan, I imagine it's kind of like when the Force Ghost is sitting there talking to his pupil. It's pretty remarkable because he's there, but he's not, It's wild. So we study the actual Dharma. However, we also need to remember we are Zen students, Bodhidharma, who brought Zen from India to China. I always have to say, there's a lot of scholarly research that Bodhidharma may be apocryphal. I always have to say that. But I choose to believe in the Bodhidharma stories.
What does apocryphal mean?
It may be made up. He might not have really done the things he supposedly did. I'm pretty sure he didn't tear his eyelids off so he wouldn't fall asleep sitting in the cave for 9 years, sitting zazen.
Would
But
that be like a parable in the Bible, something that didn't
Yeah,
really happen, but
exactly.
there's wisdom.
The spirit of it. I mean, hopefully there's no 5-year-olds watching this Dharma talk, but Santa Claus is not real. But the spirit of Santa Claus is very powerful. The spirit of generosity. Anyway, whether Bodhidharma existed or not, supposedly he said, Zen is a special transmission outside of the scriptures, based on your direct experience. For a philosophy that is supposedly based on your direct experience and not to be found in the scriptures, there's a lot of books about Zen, and I find them very helpful, actually. But we need to be careful to remember that the Dharma is also, right now, what is happening. What is your experience? That is the Dharma. The Dharma is not just in a book. What is happening now? Oh, I got your attention. One of the great things about dogs is that, as far as I can tell, they're very present-centered. And that is how we strive to be. Not ignorant like an animal, but present, here, now. And the past and the future, by the way, are part of your present. So I've spent a lot of time this week sitting right on this cushion, pondering the last year, letting go of a lot of things. Is that waste paper basket empty or not?
There are 4 things in here.
Okay, so someone has emptied it. As of last night, it was full. When I first walked in here on Saturday, it was empty. It's been mostly me in here this week, so that tells you something about what has been happening for me. We have to have the past be part of our present. We have to be present with the past, right? And if the past is painful, we need to let it arise. It's one of the powerful things about the practice. Also the future. If you all were not thinking about the future at all, it'd be very hard to run your life in a reasonable manner. We all agreed to be in here at 9:30, for example. But if we get too stuck in the past or too stuck in the future, we do miss the Dharma of this moment. And if you are fully, really present with someone, we've all had an interaction where, it's like, hi, how are you? It's so good to see you. So glad you're here today, right? Versus, oh yeah, oh hey, how you doing? Yeah, good to see you. Yeah. We're carrying around these magic rectangles that connect us to the world, but they can also disconnect us from what's right in front of our face. I'm talking into one right now. You can take a breath and be fully present with, petting the dog with all of your mind and body, not just absent-mindedly, sitting zazen with all of your mind and body, encountering new situations, encountering people, whether you know them or not. That is also the Dharma. The Dharma is how you're living and how you're experiencing. And yesterday I did a little memorial for Roshi up at the Peace Pole. And as I was sitting there, this bird started to sing or speak or whatever. And I've read enough and heard enough about these Zen stories where someone's sweeping and a pebble hits a piece of bamboo and the noise awakens them, or, the Buddha himself became awakened seeing the morning star, these direct experiences. But I tell you, something shifted in me when I heard that bird. There was just something very visceral. The Dharma is what is happening right now. It's not just what's in a book. It's not just what's in this talk. So we take refuge not only in the Dharma that has been honed to perfection over 2,500 years, and that we have instant access to whenever we want. We're very fortunate. But we also have the Dharma of whatever is happening in the moment. Okay, any questions about going for refuge in the Dharma? The teachings, the truth, and your present experience. Okay, so last of all, we have the Sangha, which is the community. So if you look around you right now, you will see your Sangha. This is a group of people who are engaged in a common pursuit. In a traditional Zen center, it's the practitioners and the teachers and the community that are trying to keep the Dharma moving along and giving each other support in this practice. That's part of what we're doing here, but also because this Zendo exists within a broader spectrum of a community, an intentional community, trying to help all of you have a better life. That's Sangha in that respect as well. I remember when Red Mountain had one student. I was there. He blazed this trail for the almost 700 people that have come after that, and it was probably not as easy or enjoyable for him as it's been for people who've come after, because you have friends, you have people to do this together with. God bless you. And sometimes what you're doing together is going, hey man, I know that was hard, I'm here for you, kind of thing. And other times you're going, I can't believe this place is such BS, right? But that's still Sangha. It's still support in a way. You've got people that are going through a common experience. Your family is a form of Sangha. Those of you that are practicing who have a family. Your family may not be practicing Zen, but if you regard them not just as your family, but as your Sangha, as your teachers, nobody pushes our buttons quite like our kids and parents and spouses, am I right? I mean, you guys not knowing him, you could probably figure out how to push his buttons, but it might take you a while. But there are several humans that can do it the minute you walk in the door, correct? Of your home. Right away. Same with my home, all of our homes. But if we regard not only our immediate community, but also our family and also our everyone. I mean, going back to the Maitri Bhavana practice, if you walk through an airport, literally in your head, may you all be well, may you all be happy, may you all be free from suffering. Just keep repeating that. It's a very different experience than if you're like, those people are in my way. I feel anxious, get out of my way. I just want my Cinnabon to get on the plane. Right? But understanding that every single person that you ever encounter is basically having a very similar experience to yours. It's all just shades of gray, the differences. So, what stage of life you're in, your socioeconomic circumstances, your physical circumstances, your challenges are all different, but we all suffer. We're all trying to be more comfortable. We all have people we care about that we don't want anything bad to happen to. We all have disappointments. We all have victories. We all have dreams. We all have fears. I mean, the basic human experience is pretty set. It's been going on for a long time. And it will go on far beyond the particular carbon package that you currently exist in. So if we can really stay connected with that and recognize that, then that brings us to compassion. And we want our Sangha to do well, and our Sangha can be whatever you define it as. It can be the people you sit Zen with, it can be the city you live in, it can be all of humanity. But taking refuge in the Sangha in the most basic sense just means I can come in this Zendo, there's other people sitting in here supporting my practice. I can go for refuge, I'm not alone. It's very hard to do this practice alone. Any questions about taking refuge in the Sangha? All right, so think about in the last year, have you taken refuge in your own awakening and in people around you that perhaps are manifesting their awakening in a little more mature way than you are? And would you like to set an intention to do that more in the coming year, starting tomorrow? I mean, you could start today if you want to get a little extra credit, but tomorrow is New Year's Day. Have you been able to take refuge in the Dharma? Have you listened? When I'm sitting up here speaking to you, are you really letting it in? Are you letting it permeate, or are you just waiting for me to be quiet so you can go do something else? Do you read things that increase your wisdom and your awareness, or do you read garbage? I read a fair amount of garbage. It helps me to decompress after a long day. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's important to read things that feed our soul as well. And have you taken refuge in the people that you care about? And have you, it's kind of like the pioneers when they would go along on the trail. If they got in trouble, they would circle the wagons. Much stronger when you circle the wagons and you've got your people in there with you than when you try to just have your own wagon, right? So are you connecting with people and helping them through their journey and allowing them to help you? Would you like to do more of that next year? Do you think your life would go better if you did that more? By the way, the answer is yes, it would. If you take refuge in the three treasures more next year, probably you'll have an easier time than if you don't. But I want to really emphasize that how I do that is going to look different from how you do it, because I have a different experience of the world and of my practice and of these teachings after 30 years than some of you that are newer to it. And some of you have been at it for quite some time like me. It's going to depend on what you want and what you're trying to experience. And one of the funny things too is we say there's no wisdom and no gain in this practice. But I'll tell you guys a secret. There is absolutely something to be gained. You will have an easier time in your life if you do this practice. That's just true. I'll close with a little anecdote from Musai Roshi, who was Daishin's teacher and one of my teachers as well. We were finishing up a sesshin many, many, many years ago. This was up in New Mexico, and I think you might have been at this sesshin actually. Getting ready to drive back down to Sedona, and I was having a final dokusan with him on Sunday morning, and he was a very encouraging teacher. Daishin was encouraging in his own way, but he was a rascal and he would poke and prod and antagonize you. Musai was much softer and always very sweet. One of our Sangha members put it well when they said, Musai pulls, Daishin pushes. But very lucky to have studied with them both. They were wonderful teachers. And Musai said, well, you've had a very strong sesshin, and I know you'll go home and your practice will continue to deepen and expand. And I said, unless it doesn't, kind of a little, I wasn't trying to tweak his nose, but it was just kind of a little Zen, we don't want to get too attached. So, my practice is really deepening, we want to be kind of light about it. Well, I think it's deepening, but maybe it's not, I don't know. But I'll never forget, he looked at me very hard and he said, no, it will continue to deepen. Happy New Year, everyone.